So again, welcome everybody. Is that everybody? Awesome. Well, let me pull back my screen and we'll get going. So everyone, thank you so much. This is quite a powerhouse group, very inspiring. And so I'm really excited. So in terms of the program, not what I wanted to do. In terms of the program and the purpose of this is really comes from in conversation that I had with Giovanni Triceri on several occasions is really kind of taking a look at, there's so much happening in and around Butte County. This book was written last year, and I've shared it with a lot of different people. And it really speaks to, I think, with all the changes happening in and around our community, in and around our state, in and around our country, it's going to require that we really do come together and figure out how to collaborate in new ways and play a new game. And so I'm really passionate about this topic. I've done leadership program in Auburn. I do the leadership program in Rancho Cordova, in Tuolumne County. And so I'm really invested in developing capacity in Butte County and beyond, because when you think of the needs that are out there, we have to figure out new ways to come together, which is really why this program was formed. It is really about building this idea of resilient leaders. Giovanni and the North Valley Community Foundation really felt that after a couple of the incidents that we've had in Butte County related to the dam almost breaking, we had the Camp Fire, we had the Bear Fire, that there was really a deeper need to bring leaders together in more collaborative ways. So it's not just about the coordination of our services, but the collaboration where we're sharing resources and we're learning and we're adding capacity. And that was really the big driver for why the North Valley Community Foundation really wanted to get behind kind of this program, because typically the North Valley Community Foundation doesn't really start programs. They really are, supportive of those other agencies. So they're really making a big investment in this program and also in developing leaders. So about the lead, Trey, this is you.
A lot of time and energy has gone into the development of this program. And what has excited me, and you'll see on the footprint of this program from the application process all the way through the different sessions within themselves, is we've tried to do our best to make sure that equity, diversity, and inclusion is part of the foundation of this program. And we've had several intense conversations about that, making sure that it's reflected with the diverse perspectives that exist within this space here in jobs and so forth. I think we're going to see that reflected with differences in ideas that's going to allow us to solve issues and better our community, which we're super excited about.
Thanks, Trey. And so the vision of the overarching lead program is this program here, the community leadership program, but there's other elements that we are going to be building into it. And really, as we go through this experience, maybe you'll find an area where you also want to continue to support. So we're going to take a deeper dive into this in just a moment. Other areas, we also want to develop one for students, because we also believe that students have the capacity to add value to our community. Another area is we plan to provide an annual leadership summit, doing the state of our area. And hopefully, again, through your involvement, you'll find a place where you can either be a presenter or a curator or a workshop presenter, where we really want to again, bring the overarching territory in the region together to learn what we're learning and see where we can be better. Another area, we're hosting what are called collaboratories, workshops, and seminars. So if you have a specific skill, some knowledge, you're a subject matter expert in a particular area, we really want to bring the best of Butte County together in terms of sharing their knowledge, our knowledge, so that we can, again, grow our capacity. Collaboratories, we're starting to do some of those locally, and it's really just a place and a space where people can come together and have civil discourse and talk about really tricky challenges. So if you are interested in doing and being a part of something like that, again, let us know. We have some technology. So we have a 30-day app challenge that people can participate in. Again, it's a learning opportunity where if you want to get involved, you can be a part of curating some challenges within your own community and maybe even within your own organization. We want to be able to provide coaching and consulting. So Peter, as you're talking about how do you build your nonprofit up, we have a lot of resources in this community to really support people like yourself and your colleagues to hopefully do that. So again, a rising tide raises all ships. And so we want to make sure that we're rising the boats together. We're also going to be moving into developing online courses. So maybe some people may not have the capacity to, invest a whole 9-month or 10-month experience, but we want to be able to provide and capture opportunities where they can learn other ways to add value through online courses and training. We'll be looking at developing a podcast where we're going to highlight regional leadership and have people like yourself speak to how you're leading your initiatives, how you're working collaboratively, what you're learning and where we could be better. And then lastly, we're going to be adding a written content and adding blogs and articles. So we really are building kind of a whole ecology to help people have the resources and to make connections needed to kind of, again, grow the capacity within Butte County to be a lot more collaborative. And then the social media and email. So we'll be doing more, and there'll be opportunities within this class where we'll be connected probably through a Slack channel or something along those lines as well. Okay, so this is kind of the overarching, and again, the whole goal is to build that leadership capacity. So that's where the community leadership programs comes in, and it's really to bring people like yourselves together to learn about the latest and greatest around leadership, around collaboration. My background over the last several years has been applying a lot of neuroscience and performance science to how people show up in the workplace. So there is a series of assessments and communication tools that we'll be sharing with you that seem to be kind of at the cutting edge, and we want to offer that to Butte County as much as we can. And so within that, the program outcomes for each of for this particular 9-month program are, we want to be able to make sure that leaders develop the tools and the practices to become more self-aware. And we really want to emphasize this idea of practices. So, we talk about, we have the comfort zone and then we have the performance zone, but we're really trying to say, well, what do we need to be practicing and be really intentional with those leadership practices when we come together as community members, so that we have the ability to, when we come in the room and we're addressing a community problem, that we can practice the things that we're actually learning together. Secondly, we want to be able to cultivate a deeper awareness of the community. So whether you're in Oroville or Paradise or whatever, how can what we're bringing add value to the work that you're doing within your own community? Third, we want to be able to develop practices that strengthen and deepen collaboration. And you really kind of, again, teach some new tools around that, like how to run an effective meeting. Leaders will gain an understanding of emotional intelligence. So again, we'll be bringing in some of what the science suggests in terms of how we can work better together. Fifth, we're going to create some best practices for engaging difficult conversations. We don't want to shy away from controversy. We want to kind of, everyone has a different perspective. And that's why what Trey said around diversity, diverse teams generally have shown that they make better decisions. And so sometimes when you're in a diverse group, you may not all see things the same way, and you're going to inevitably be put into some uncomfortable situations. And so we want to create a safe space where we could talk about some of the difficult issues that might be interfering with our ability to come together. So we're not going to shy away of controversy and learn the skills of how to do it well. 6, develop some stronger and wider network within the community. As I could just look at the list of people that are here. And again, what would happen if we could tap into everyone's potential towards something to add value towards the community? And again, it's pretty inspiring. Again, gain some skills in terms of how to become active, and really the whole purpose of this leadership program is how do we get Butte County to thrive? We've gone through so much together, and we're kind of trying to figure out what is the next thing going to be for us, but how do we start to thrive and work optimally, even in suboptimal conditions? But we're really kind of pointing our trajectory towards getting the community to be thinking about how can we be thriving around food security, so on and so forth. But we want to be proactive rather than reactive. And then lastly, really be able to apply the skills. For many of you probably have bookshelves of leadership trainings that you've done. We want to put it to use and put it into practice and kind of create a system of accountability and professional development and personal development. So we're actually putting our skills into play. So those are the program outcomes. And again, as many of you guys who have experience in this space, you guys will all be teaching each other. You'll be teaching me. You'll be teaching anyone who's a part of this program. And we're going to continue to grow and evolve as we grow and evolve. And that's what's inspiring. So with that, Trey.
Thanks, Scott. The former program that Scott, Evan, and myself have referenced, which is the Butte Pioneers, one of the things that made it really special and beneficial was it provided us with an opportunity to really learn about the issues that were taking place in our community. And we're planning to do something similar with you all as well. Too often, we try to solve problems without understanding the structures that exist to create change around, and it doesn't allow us to be effective. So what we're planning to do, and the various themes and topics that we have in front of you are themes that we feel are prominent in our community right now, that we can both continue to educate ourselves about and also be value added and create change. Our hope is to gather this information, put more tools in our toolkit, and be value added to our county and to our city when we're trying to, again, create change from an intersectional EDI lens with this work. So we're super excited. I would envision that depending on what's happening, both locally, nationally, statewide, these things may change, but we feel like right now, these are some things that we can really truly focus on for our community.
Thanks, Trey. And just so you know that each day is going to be designed where we'll be taking an area, a topic, and built into that is not only the subject, the content, but also developing some leadership skills around it. And I'll give you an example, and I'll go through kind of the important dates. So in public safety, many years ago, we went out to Oroville and we went through the shooting simulator, the shoot, no shoot simulator. But the leadership skill was around decision-making. And so what we try to do is give people information and then say, okay, what are some of the skills that are needed in this particular area? We also went out to Glenn County and we're a part of a water project. And that particular skill was, how to deal with interest-based negotiations, for example, like how do we really come together? So each day is specifically designed with a particular topic and some substance, but within that substance, we want to kind of really hone in on some of the skills and practices that have been modeled to make it successful, or maybe even identify some of the skills and practices that are essential to get over the hump that these particular areas might be struggling with. So that's part of the design, that it's not a sit still, instill experience. It's really more a matter of an engaged, and again, each of you have experience in some of these areas to bring your knowledge to the conversation as well. So with that, there are some different frameworks, and then we're going to open it up for questions. So I appreciate your patience. We really want to develop a lot around self-awareness. And I apologize for the building of the slide here, so I'm just going to get all this stuff out here. But there's really about developing some levels of awareness as well as these practices. So we want to develop some self-reflection skill sets. A lot of leaders that I'm seeing right now, because they're really stressed out, they're really overwhelmed, and they're not doing a lot of just self-care. And so we're going to be talking a lot about the science. Again, this is where the science performing comes in. Getting really clear on what your purpose is, so you can address the signal to noise ratio. So we really want to develop a level of clarity of purpose for yourself and your role, and in terms of how you want to serve the community in your own organizations. Develop some cognitive literacy skills, where you can understand the power of emotional intelligence, understanding biases, and then we're getting into some of these practical elements around collaboration, discipline, communication, critical thinking. But we're going to be bringing to you again some of what some of the best out there of other organizations, from military to other organizations I've worked with in terms of the Olympic Committee, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to be bringing a lot of resources, but again, you have resources as well. So if you have ideas, feel free to share, because we want this to be our program, not someone else's program. So that's where we're headed. So with that, I'm going to finally open it up to some questions. But here are some of the frequently asked questions that we've had so far. One is the cost of the program. In the application, we want to be really clear that the cost per person for the program to run is about $2,500. If that is an obstacle, we want to make it accessible. So even in the application, we say that don't let the cost prohibit or limit your ability. We do have applications where you can talk about the need, and we want to make sure that people don't use the cost as a barrier. We want to make it available to as many people, because we do have scholarships and we do have sponsorships available for those of you who are needing it. But we will make every effort that we can to make sure that you get involved. also want to say on this that we just made, they made a decision, it came out today, that if you have already registered, we're going to take off the $25 registration fee, because again, we're trying to make it accessible. And if you have registered, you will be receiving some return on that investment. In terms of participation requirements, most programs around the state that have done this, typically we allow for 2 absences. The one thing that's really really important that you do attend is the retreat. So the retreat in August, it's kind of, if you can't attend that, then we'd probably be deferring your enrollment for the next year. But the retreat is really critical because that sets the foundation. We have talked a lot about developing a class project, but we built a lot of initiatives within the program that you can easily, your class project could be helping out with the leadership conference. But most leadership programs around the state, they do encourage people to do a project where they can actually apply their leadership skills, go through the group development model, and actually come out the back end of the year in May with something that we can say, we did that, okay? How will it help you become a better leader? Hopefully you've seen through some of the curriculum and the content is hopefully that self-awareness and some of the new leadership practices that are out there that help you be more effective in your role. Can you get involved with other initiatives? Absolutely. And then in terms of who's on the advisory board, Dylan, we're going to be posting that list, but some of the people have been named. Sarah Grossman, we have Virginia Walker, who's an ex-CFO of a tech firm, Evan, Jack Coots, who's coming from the ag industry, Bob Sprague, and I can't name them all, but there's quite a few people representing nonprofit, education, and the corporate arena. So that's the overview and some of the questions, but are there any other questions that you guys may have and have curiosity about? And I'm going to take us off the shared screen here.
Scott, Kimberly has a question in the text.
Oh. Are there additional details around the retreat location? So at this point, the retreat will be it'll be local. So it'll probably where you'll be going home and then coming back. We wanted to be really mindful of keeping our resources in Butte County. So we are going to be having it at a facility, probably in South County, potentially. We're still looking for a location. I believe Dylan is on that. I might miss this, but it's each monthly meeting in person. The idea is to have the meetings in person as much as we possibly can. If there's another outbreak or a whole other pandemic, we'll have to make that adjustment. But we will plan to have them face-to-face as much as we can, because something is lost when we're not in the room together, and we want to kind of be able to, especially have those difficult conversations. It's hard to do sometimes in the virtual space. Any other comments or questions that you might have? How long are the meetings? So typically we'll start out with a breakfast. We generally go from like 8:30 to 5 because we'll have meals, food, we'll have time for lunch, breaks. But typically some of the designs we have in other communities, the morning is kind of a bit of a check-in, and then we get into the substance of the day, the material, and then generally the afternoons turn into the actual leadership competencies. And then there's a little time, typically if they go down the project path, where they have time to work on the group project or the class project. So that's kind of the design of the day.
I have a quick question. How many participants are you guys selecting? And then as far as the application process, it looks like it closes June 1st, but when do you plan on notifying participants?
Dylan?
Okay, so applications due, we're trying to get those in by June 1st. I believe they should be, the date we're sending out the acceptance letters is going to be July 11th.
And part of that is we plan to have, if we agreed on the interviews, I believe we wanted to interview people and just to kind of clarify any other questions. So we'll have a group of people looking through the apps, and then we do want to reach out for those to interview folks. And it's really not a long interview, other than just to kind of maybe get some clarity and understand where the passions that you have for the community. So for example, Peter, in your nonprofit, for example, really want to kind of see how you see your involvement would really be a benefit to you, but also how your involvement will help benefit the community. What is the time committed off hours, for example, evening, weekends, homework? So great question. So It really depends. And I think that's where the group project, typically we talk about the group project at the retreat. And one of the criteria that we really ask you guys to consider is how much time do you guys want to spend on that? So typically there isn't a lot of homework at all. Typically, it's really there will be some pre-work and maybe some pre-reads coming into the sessions so that you're prepared for some of the content. But there's really not a lot of extra time unless you guys make a project where you want to, I don't know, repaint something that's really, it's really going to be defined by how much time you want to spend on your project, which should be a consideration to your criteria for selecting the type of project you want to do.
And also how much you're riveted by the books that Scott recommends, because he already recommend The Future is Faster Than You Think, and that may inspire you to grab that book, and other books and things may come up. So were you the college student that read every book the professor mentioned, or were you the college student who read the minimum amount of reading on the syllabus? And that's not a judgment thing. It's just that may influence too the amount of time commitment. How engaged do you get with the material?
Yeah, and if you want to maybe co-curate a collaboratory, again, your level of engagement is really to Evan's point is really what you're willing to give.
I did just want to add one little thing. It's kind of about LEAD in general, but I didn't want to forget, just so everyone knows, when we were talking about LEAD as a whole, there's also going to be a nonprofit part of the LEAD program. So that's going to be coming soon. More information will be coming through social media and the email, but we also will have a pretty large nonprofit part of this program.
Right, and that's about capacity building as well.
Scott, I have a comment, and then maybe it's going to be directed for Dylan, but if you all have colleagues, friends in the community who you think would benefit from what you've heard today, please have them reach out to Dylan. Have them reach out to you, or?
Yeah, so you can email me personally. It's ERANEY@nvcf.org. But we also have the LEAD email. It's lead@nvcf.org. And if you email that one, you'll also reach me. I'm always happy to do calls, answer questions, or if you want to set up a meeting, I'm always happy to do that. But yes, and we do have the website live right now, so there's some information on there, and that's generally we'll always be posting on there. And if you follow North Valley Community Foundation on any social media, we generally put all of our updates on there as well.
One thing we forgot to ask the question was how many people are we looking to have in the program? And I believe it was between 24 to 30. So 30 will be the high mark. But typically it's between those ranges and the other communities that we've been a part of, or I've been a part of. In terms of also reaching out, I know that Trey put his email information in there. Dylan have her contact. I'm going to send my contact. If you guys want to meet with us individually, if you want to take a deeper dive or get really curious, like, Scott, what do you mean about this? Feel free to reach out. I mean, I'm always happy to have a cup of coffee with somebody around Chico. So it's nice to get connected with people, actual human beings. Anything else? I want to be cognizant of time, but hopefully if there are any burning questions, or I guess the question I'd ask you guys is there anything here that excites you or piques your interest now that you have a little bit more information?
This is Robin. I would say I very much appreciate that you're not shying away from difficult issues. Those are the ones that are obviously some of the most important, and some of the ones where I feel like I could use the most help. So thank you.
No worries. Yeah, I love that, because we talk about reducing your defensiveness, right? That's the key, to know what your triggers are. So thank you, Robin. Anyone else?
I wanted to say that I'm really excited, Scott. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
I'm really excited, Scott, that you're here. I really enjoyed your class through the training center about change. And I learned a lot from that class, and I'm just really excited that you're a part of this team and looking forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you. And was Robin Ryan, did you guys have something?
Yeah, I was going to say, talking a lot about diversity and just looking at the screen here, it's apparent that that's going to be a theme throughout. So I think that's something that's exciting for me.
I'm glad that you recognize it, because we're making we have to be really diligent about importance of that diversity in our community, because we have so much of it, and we want it. There's value in it, and there's strength in that. So, and Trey is a huge mentor for me in this space. So, anything else? Anyone else? All right. So in terms of the timelines, if you have your applications in by June 1, you'll probably be hearing from one of us, and we'll be scheduling a chat, and then announcements will go out. And then, like I said, the retreat will be here locally. The schedule of the retreat is designed where it's going to be a Friday afternoon, evening with some dinner, a couple elements there. So we'll probably go from like a 3 to 8, and then kind of a 8 to 6 on Saturday, and then a half a day on that Sunday. So that's kind of the design of the retreat. And again, that's really foundational. It's really sets the tone for the rest of the year in terms of, you guys will set some shared values and get a good foundation for how you guys want to operate as a group when you guys do come together and as you leave the retreat.
Scott, can you share the dates of that retreat one more time? Just so I can have it on my
Great.
calendar.
Yeah, I think it's the 7th. Let me go back to the schedule here. Hold on one moment. I believe it's the 7th, 8th, and 9th, or the 6th, 7th, 8th.
It's the 5th, 6th, and 7th.
There you go. So don't listen to me. Listen to Dylan on that logistical stuff. Well, thank you guys all for your time. And again, someone asked the question is, will this be recorded and the recording be shared? Absolutely. Definitely reach out. I think will you be posting it on the website as well, Dylan? So it'll be a link on the website. And but if you were on the call, reach out to Dylan and we could just send you it in advance, so you don't have to wait for it to be posted. We'll get it to you that way as well. Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, just want to say thank you, everybody. Again, I'm really excited to just see all these great faces and get to learn from some amazing people in this community. So thank you guys for your time, and we'll look forward to seeing you hopefully in August, if not before. Thank you guys. Make it a great one.